All right, welcome to This Week in Media-ocrity, where we present you with all of the best in the worst of the media. I'm your host, Joel Foster, and I can't wait until we get into the arm wrestling phase of the Trump presidency. We're almost there. Maybe to make up for last week, too much happened this week. But at the same time, nothing happened. Let me explain. Republicans failed to pass the Obamacare replacement 7 years in the making. It was like Chinese democracy. We waited and waited, and then this. I've heard they've gotten better in his defense. But yeah, a huffing and puffing Axl Rose sounded pretty similar to this.
With John Cornyn the other night, we had a couple of things that we put down on paper. I'm just going to read them really fast, but these are some of the things that are done, because the Democrats are always selling their plan, but they don't do that anymore. They don't talk about Obamacare anymore because they can't, because it's failed. They know it. So they're selling their plan,
like that was even going on.
And we never sell our plan. If we're weak on anything, right? It's on letting people know how good it was. So we wrote down these few things. Repeals the individual mandate. How big is that? Where people are paying not to have insurance. Nobody ever talks about that. Repeals job-killing employer mandate. How big is that? Will substantially lower premiums. And remember this, cross-country lines, cross-state lines.
Yeah, who couldn't get behind that? That's the problem. They needed a slogan. Across state lines just doesn't really roll off the tongue unless he's talking about a sex trafficking operation, which he might be, since I don't know what he's talking about. Anyway, in terms of the things that did happen, it was all about the mooch. That's right. Tony Scaramucci, better known as the Mooch, took over as White House Communications Director, causing Press Secretary and human weeble Sean Spicer to quit. The Mooch walked into the White House like he was Rick Ross and instantly made his presence known. Within days of having the job, he threatened to fire everybody and set off a media firestorm within a week. Here's a clip of his first day.
Take your hat off.
Excuse me?
They don't sell hot dogs here. They took the bleachers out 2 years ago.
It's my hat. I'll wear it where I want.
How you doing?
He gained a bit of weight. On his first day, the Mooch admitted to firing a member of the communications team and said that there was more terminations on the way. Then a damaging report came out claiming that the Mooch was, well, mooching. Politico reported on Wednesday that Scaramucci may be still profiting from his hedge fund Skybridge Capital because the firm's sale to a Chinese conglomerate still hasn't gone through. They cited financial disclosures showing that Scaramucci was still listed as head of Skybridge even as he was employed by the U.S. Import-Export Bank, a government agency. Scaramucci accused Politico of leaking the information even though they were public documents. Apparently, reporting on something is now considered to be leaking. So I guess I'm leaking this all to you right now. Maybe I'll get a call from the Mooch this weekend. Can't wait. Instead of taking responsibility or clarifying the claims in Politico, he did what any White House staffer would do. He blamed someone else. Mooch picked a fight with Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, claiming that he's the leaker. He then, and Priebus was fired, by the way, today, this hot off the presses. He then picked a fight with a different kind of leaker, Steve Bannon, who always looks like he's seeking an antidote to whatever he's suffering from. Mooch even said, quote, "I'm not Steve Bannon. I'm not trying to suck my own, you know." Which commits the horrible sin of making us imagine anything below Steve Bannon's waist. Ugh. Then on Thursday, Mooch threatened to fire everyone on the communications team if the leaks didn't stop. Yes, this is the guy who's in charge of communicating, by the way. It's like he's influenced by Joe Cabot and, well, I guess Donald Trump. Amazingly, Mooch went through with it and fired everyone on staff. Here's a clip of the mass termination.
Well, that's it. Fired everyone. No one left but me. That ought to boost profits, right? Right? Oh, Jesus. Am I the only one left? Is there no other human on the planet but I?
Are you all right?
Why, yes, Joanne, I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. You're fired. Oh, shitballs. Now who's gonna run the company? Think. Take a drink. Yeah, always helps.
Now he can have the president all to himself. All right, let's move on because, again, too much happened this week. Jupiter must have been in retrograde because Breitbart criticized the president this week. Yes, that Breitbart. The one that ran a headline once stating that birth control makes women crazy. And what was the straw that broke the horse's back? Camels are too Middle Eastern. Jeff Sessions, your favorite racist. That's what. It started when Trump sent out a series of tweets criticizing Sessions for accusing himself, saying that Sessions took a weak position on the crimes of Hillary Clinton. This went on for 3 days with Trump churning out insults like Sessions was a Hillary stand-in. It no doubt made for some awkward bedroom conversations between the two. On Tuesday, Breitbart released an article where they said, quote, "For Sessions represents one of the vital pillars of Trump's immigration agenda. Sessions has fought in the trenches for a tough line on immigration for years, back when Trump was pouring money into the campaign coffers of Democrats who wanted to open up America's border." So it's safe to say that Jeff Sessions is Breitbart's go-to racist. See, Trump is more of a fair-weather racist. Like, he gets into it when there's like a big playoff event, like a Black Lives Matter gathering or a police shooting. But Sessions is like the Martin Luther King Jr. of racism. Focused, driven, eyes on the prize. And it wasn't just Breitbart. Even Tucker gave the president some gas, although he also greased it with a lot of excuses. Let's take a look.
Now, take a step back and you can kind of see how this all happened. The president is a 71-year-old political novice, and all of a sudden, he's the subject of a vague, open-ended federal investigation whose goal may be to imprison him and his family. Ask anyone who's had an independent counsel on his case, and there are a lot of them here in Washington, what that's like. It's terrifying. The pressure is soul-distorting. You can wind up lashing out at the people around you, even, maybe especially, the ones trying to help you the most. So that's probably what's going on. And yet, attacking Jeff Sessions was still a useless, self-destructive act. The first rule in politics, as in war, as in life, don't shoot the friendlies.
In what universe would Jeff Sessions be considered a friendly? In Jeff Sessions, the most popular person in Alabama? What about Nell Carter, the beloved star of Gimme a Break? Or what about American Idol runner-up Bo Bice? I don't know much, but I know the American people love Bo Bice. Yeah, so maybe Tucker's takedown wasn't so much a takedown as it was justifying psychotic behavior, but still, that's the furthest we're gonna pull Tucker out of Trump's sphincter, so I'll take it. But one man stood by the president no matter what. His unwavering support was an inspiration to patriots everywhere. If only we could all be so loyal. Let's check it out.
Well, and I think the president is genuinely disappointed in Jeff Sessions, as I am, and I think we all should be. He came to office with a terrific reputation. He's been a real leader in the Senate on immigration issues. But on the key points here, he's completely MIA.
That's self-described political trickster Roger Stone, veteran of the Nixon White House. Yeah, that Nixon. It might not be surprising that Roger Stone would support him because he claims to be responsible for encouraging the Donald to run. I don't know why anyone would admit to that, but here you go.
Yeah. Is it true what people say you convinced him to run for president?
Yes.
You convinced Donald Trump to run for president?
I started in 1988.
That is true.
You were there?
I've been trying to do this. I've been trying to get him to run for a long time. Tried to get him run in 88, tried to get him run in 2000, tried to get him run in 2012. He could have beaten Romney.
Wonder how many women Roger Stone roofied that night. Oh, I haven't even mentioned that Trump tweeted again on Wednesday to announce that transgender troops would no longer be allowed to serve in the military. Whew, too much. It turns out that Trump wrote the tweet while Defense Secretary James Mattis was on vacation, which is like Facebook's COO taking a few days off and then seeing Mark Zuckerberg put a picture of his junk on everyone's news feed. But here's who I think might be replacing Mattis as our next defense secretary.
I don't want someone named Tom that wants to be Tommy sitting beside me in the foxhole going, I just don't really know if I'm quite ready for this yet. I should be doing something else like being a beauty pageant or playing with Barbie dolls. No! Get on the 50 cal. That's what we want. We want manly men. We want alpha females. We want people who got their mind right. They're ready to go train, PT their asses off, get chiseled, get a buzz cut, and kick ass. That is what it's about. So none of this crap right here that's going on. And the LGBT community comes out today and they go, oh my God, we're being discriminated against. Well, let's use facts. There's a little website called New York Times that says that only 0.6% of the adult population in America is transgendered. That's 1.4 million Americans, everybody. That's not a lot of people. There's 2 million people or more, almost 3 million in Austin alone. So we've discriminated against a little city in Texas? I mean, that's what's really going on? Oh my God.
See how well he justifies the military ban? See, it's okay to discriminate against people if there's not that many of them. Almost like they're a minority, you know? That's loyalty, folks. But I didn't even need to tell you about the transgender ban because it was the biggest news of the week, which is maybe why you didn't hear about the biggest story in the alternative media this week. You might remember this tweet from the president on Wednesday. There we go. Sandwiched between yet another defense of Russian allegations and a weird pep talk / threat to Republicans on healthcare. It's a link to a town hall story criticizing the mainstream media for ignoring the story of Imran Awan, a staffer of former Democratic National Committee leader Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was pretty much Medusa with gold earrings. Awan was arrested for fraud after well, let's have Mike Cernovich explain the rest. Remember him from last week? If you don't know who I'm talking about, watch last week's episode. Or don't. I don't care. Let's watch.
And we don't know the full story yet. But we do know that the Awan brothers did have access to Deborah Wasserman Schultz's passwords. It showed up in a WikiLeaks. They had access to passwords. They had access to all the information. And they had access to the Republican emails too. Now we have the Department of Justice showing up with a complaint about disclosure on a modest real estate matter. Okay, I'm a lawyer. I've done criminal defense work. I've done white-collar criminal defense work. Let me translate this for you. Real estate matter. Well, what do you do when you're paid a lot of money or you want to hide a lot of money? Again, we're going to have to read the indictment, but I'm just telling you as a lawyer, here's what I'm reading in between the line is a real estate matter. Well, why would you be guilty of a crime related to a real estate matter? Usually that means that money is being shifted around. And again, I'm not saying that Mr. Awan has laundered money, but I'm saying he was arrested by the feds. He was caught with a bunch of cash and he was trying to leave the country. Because again, you should never issue a statement like this on behalf of a client. The lawyer is definitely sending a message out to Congress that the Awan brothers do have all of their secrets, and they will release the secrets. So are they blackmail victims, Deborah Wasserman Schultz, or was she blackmailing people? Did she use the Awan brothers to dig through the emails of Republican congressional leaders so that she could blackmail people because you find out all the secrets about the drugs and the orgies and everything? I don't know, but we're going to keep investigating it.
Yeah, he's right. Only criminals deal in real estate, like our president. Apparently, Mike Cernovich's family isn't being threatened anymore because he sounds like he's in a great spirit now. And that wasn't all. Representative Steve King appeared on Curt Schilling's radio show on Breitbart. What's that you say? Back up? Yes, Curt Schilling has a show on Breitbart. Yes, that Curt Schilling, the Red Sox pitcher who somehow was able to break one of the most storied slumps in sports history and still be hated in Boston. Yeah, the one who complains about big government, then took a huge government tax break for a video game company, then wasted that tax money when the company went bust a couple of years later. Yeah, that Curt Schilling, the guy who looks like a cross between Sean Spicer and Jeff Daniels, except in worse shape, even though he's a pro athlete. And in case you're wondering, yes, he does use the bloody sock as a logo. Anyway, Steve King was on the show, and he said that Imran Awan had access to all the communication of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Oh, we got ourselves a conspiracy. I'm in. This story brought me to a new member of our ever-expanding cast of YouTube maniacs. This guy's name is Jason Goodman. If Alex Jones is the tough jock of the conspiracy theorist world, Goodman is like the weird kid who keeps bugs in his pocket. He's also like the band Waxahachie, not quite viral yet, but ready to break out. One more Illuminati video with 1,000 likes and he'll get a review on Pitchfork. But to get to the big leagues, he might want to get a better phone. Here he is talking to Imran Awan's lawyer, and his interviewing skills could use a little work. Let's take a listen.
That sort of goes in line with fraud and seems to indicate that you're saying there's no evidence of fraud.
Not one ounce of anything you just said is in this complaint. Do you have the complaint? Why don't you start with that?
But I'm speaking to the character of the individual which you claim there is no evidence of fraud, and I'm saying he's regularly engaging in fraud. He owns 12 homes and claims to have a salary of $160,000 a year, and has gotten a large number of loans from the U.S. Capital Credit Union there, and I just was wondering how there's no evidence.
Sorry, what was your question?
My question. Well, you can call me Jason or Mr. Goodman, whichever you prefer.
I'll call you Mr.
Lawyer.
Independent Journalist.
I'll call you Mr. Lawyer. How's that sound? You're representing a guy who is engaged in fraud, who has threatened his own stepmother with kidnapping, who has a huge number of loans, 12 homes, who, by all indications, he's a member of the Pakistani
I'm sure you hold
wondering if you have
I'm sure you hold Donald Trump to the same level of scrutiny with the number of loans he has.
Well, look, what does that have to do?
If you have a question about nothing you're saying, I'll answer any question. Look, I'm done with this. If you have a question about the complaint against my
start with that. What's
you don't even know my name. Okay, all right, take care, buddy. Bye.
The lawyer's exasperation is great. He was so patient with him. It's hard to prove a conspiracy when you don't have good service. It's like, admit it, you're on the payroll of George Soros. Hello? Anyway, maybe it's just that Goodman needs a partner in crime. Possible sex crime. Here's where we meet his compadre, George Webb, who also goes by Pizza Gate. Get it? Get it?
The way the con works is basically the U.S. Democrats and very heavily Democratic, and I can't remember what that index is, which is extremely heavy Democratic congressional districts, were loading or packing the U.S. government people like in HUD and FDA and so forth for local projects and programs. So they're bringing students through. Mainly FIU and University of Miami, getting them to stay 1 year on their visa, then applying for asylum visa to get the passport, then passport visa after they spend time in the model United Nations, bring them up to New York in the United Nations for a year, or a stint at New York Times or WAPO, and then move to, yeah, you can show it to me.
But they're not doing stints at the Washington. Of course, here we see McCain back in the...
Yeah, and then move to Congress. Once you're in Congress, then you can get into the U.S. Congressional Credit Union loan. Yeah, and the documents. Can you bring that closer? So.
Why?
Well, just so I don't have to talk quite as loud. So.
Well, we look terrible. Yeah.
Well, that's irrelevant.
Hello. Those two guys are like Woodward and Bernstein or Franklin and Bash, except women are repulsed by them and they don't have real jobs. They claim in the video that Imran Awan was a reporter for CNN who wrote about Islamophobia. Sounds like they did some deep digging, right? Well, it turns out that the CNN story was written by another Imran Awan. Yes, there can be more than one. And I found that out from Breitbart, where the source of the story came from, after posting that Awan wrote the story, Breitbart corrected themselves. Let me repeat that. Breitbart corrected themselves. An earlier version of the story included a reference to a CNN story about Islamophobia written by a different individual named Imran Awan. You could just see the balled-up fist when you read the correction, too. But that didn't stop the Imran Awan conspiracy from rolling on. Washington, D.C. Detective Rod Wheeler is back to tell us that the Imran Awan story is wrapped up with the Seth Rich murder. A whole other conspiracy. Remember that one? Well, Wheeler was the guy who went on Fox News to implicate the Democrats for killing Rich. Wheeler says that Seth Rich was killed because he had secrets, and then they decided to kill him where any assassin would, on the streets of Chicago. Anyway, Wheeler released this tweet on Wednesday saying, quote, "Follow the arrest of Awan closely. Connect the dots to other cases. Hint, hint, just the beginning. Stay tuned." And for some reason, people cared. Remember also that Wheeler said that Seth Rich was in touch with WikiLeaks on the day of his murder, except that Rod Wheeler admitted to never seeing his computer. But if he did, oh boy. Yeah, he might not be the best source, I don't know. But Seth Rich is all he's got. Think about it. Without Seth Rich, Rod Wheeler is nothing. He peddles Seth Rich like he's his manager. If Seth Rich were to rise from the dead, Rod Wheeler would be like a zombie Don King. Yeah. All right, let me wrap this up here. Alternative journalism is great. It's responsible for some great reporting, from ProPublica to The Intercept to whatever else. But it's kind of like SoundCloud or YouTube rappers. You'll find some great ones out there, but you'll also have to wade through things like this.
Live for real. Got some question I gotta ask, yeah. Push your hands up on that floor. Okay, let's go. Let's go to the front low, let's go. Baby, you got a better fall. Oh mama, tell me how you feel. It's no queen, like smile, one see you cry. I never see someone like you before in my life.
Catchy tune, right? So, yeah, there's a larger supply of people reporting information, but that just means that we have to be more discerning in who we're listening to. If it sounds intriguing when someone acts like they're bucking the system like Mike Cernovich, but that doesn't mean that what he's saying is true. Sure, they'll get lucky now and again and get something right, the way that a broken clock is right 2 times a day. So take everything these guys say with a grain of salt, just like you would with the mainstream media. Quit following the Imran Awan wormhole and realize this. All of us forgot that there was tons more Russia stuff going on this week. And we didn't even realize it. And wasn't it kind of nice not to hear about it for once? Question what you hear, including what I say. All right, that's all the time I got for today. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week, same time. Stay cool, Tucson. All right.
That was your fucking best one.